My name is Jason Balaam, and I am one part of the Cult of the Supreme Being, and this is our first show. We called it Safehouse 164. We decided on the Safehouse name. Well, I should start at the beginning. Ian E.R. Gott is the other part of the Cult of the Supreme Being. And he approached me about 3 months ago with interest in doing a show, him and I, and how we would go about finding a space. And after some discussion, we realized that we should bring in some other artists and such. We chose the name Safehouse because a lot of shows and a lot of art that goes in Victoria, you have to present your art first to be juried or decided upon. And we decided to go with a sort of a pay-to-play method where we gathered 8 artists, we had them all pay a fee, and we all collectively rented this place. Nobody had to ask permission or present their work. They just got to hang it up. And yeah, it's a safe house, so you could put stuff that wasn't ready, stuff that you were afraid of, stuff that you didn't necessarily have to be afraid of. You just wanted to have it out there. So we have 8 artists, 2 provinces, and 3 cities. And we were open for 3 days. And our goal is to have, for the Cult of the Supreme Being, we would like to have 4 to 5 shows a year, and we'd like to have possibly 1 or 2 safe house shows a year. So it would be, themed. The safe house shows would not be themed, whereas the other shows we would pick particular themes. We have another one planned for the December 21st. Do you want me to talk a little bit about that? Tentatively, it's based on there's a tactile color. It's a sticker paper that's colored so blind people can touch paintings and feel and experience. So we're aiming for December 21st because it's the darkest day of the year, and we're going to find another location. And the idea is, once again, we'll get together a few artists. Each person will create a piece, and you'll go into a darkened room, and you'll be able to feel these pieces in the dark, and then when you come out the other side, you'll be able to see what they look like in the light. So that's our intention every 4 months to do some sort of new show. How the cult started was Ian invited me to be in the In Cahoots show, and then he also invited Jesse Ledre, and through Facebook we were discussing what name we should put under, if we should all sign our own names, or if we should conglomerate our names, or such. And so Ian messaged me one night because I mentioned that maybe we should find a historical name, possibly from the French Revolution. And when he was researching, he discovered there was a movement during the French Revolution called the Cult of the Supreme Being, and Ian really latched on to that name. He liked it. We took the "the" out of it, so it's just a Cult of Supreme Being. And the basis was because Jesse was our first collaboration, and we decided that Ian and I would team up, and each time we collaborated, we would include a third party, not necessarily a single person. This show, Safehouse, is technically it's the Cult of Supreme Being presents Safehouse. So this group, these 6 other artists are our third chair. So each show we do, it will be Ian and I and a third party, and that's the general idea behind the Cult of Supreme Being. This is my work. This is where I started. I love color. I used to obviously paint in a lot of color, and about 2 years ago, I did a little bit of acid for the first time in about 15 years, and sat in my studio and looked at my paintings, and sort of had the revelation that, yeah, they were really neat, but what would they look like if I didn't paint with color? If I painted the same way, and if it would work. So I stopped painting, and for about a year and a half, I just pondered the whole process, and about the start of the year is when I started my new series, and this was the last one I did in color, and I had to give away all my colored paints because it was a horrible temptation to continue, and it sort of also came out of frustration. Every time I mentioned to people that I was doing white on white, you get this stupid polar bear in a snowstorm joke. So I sort of did it to prove to people that it's not just a polar bear in a snowstorm. It also reminds me of when I started this white series, I constantly thought of the sound of ice breaking, like a thaw, or and it was that noise really influences these white pieces. I've been actually trying to track down a nice sample of the noise. I want to put them behind some of the pieces, so when you get close you can hear them cracking. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg with these pieces here, and I'm excited to see what I'm going to be doing in the next week. Pretty much, I've been dying. I've been working on this piece here. This is my man-woman piece, and I don't know how many people who know who man-woman is. You either know who man-woman is or you don't. But he was an artist who, in the 70s, he had a year-long dream vision quest where this elder appeared before him and burned a white swastika onto his throat and told him to reclaim it from the Nazis. Now, he came from a family that bribed their way out of the Nazi death camps, and so he understood something weird was going on. So he got a small swastika tattooed on his finger, and then he got the reverse on this finger, and every time he got one here, he got the reverse, and he was covered in 200 tattoos, and he walked around like that, and I just found that fearless. I'm not necessarily an advocate for the swastika, but I'm an advocate for fearlessness. So I created this piece. So you first get introduced to the man-woman words, but if you look closely, you can actually see a swastika in it, but it doesn't make up the piece. The two pieces sort of make it one. This is part one of a 4-part series. I was actually too afraid to do my original idea, which was I was going to paint his 100 swastikas on the whiteboard, and then on his back he has a swastika with doves coming out of it, and I was going to do that, but I was afraid, which is funny because I was trying to be fearless, but yeah. So, but I will do it because I can't not do it. Yeah. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, I finished painting this painting 10 minutes after the show started. I should tell you about that. I actually, so this color here, originally I was given, it said man, woman, and then I was given this reflective spray paint, and the idea was that you would see the man, woman, and then if you took a flash photograph, then the swastika would appear, but the spray paint dried like a coffee stain color. So I had this white background with this big brown swastika on it, and it did not do what I wanted to do. It had an effect, but it had the exact opposite effect. It was shocking and not gentle. But I did it, and then I had to go away for 2 weeks on a vacation, and I came back on Wednesday night, got out of the car, painted until 4 in the morning, got up in the morning about 8, painted until 1, and I was painting, trying to nullify the strength of the brutality of it, trying to make it more subtle, and then when I was carrying it down, because it didn't fit in any of our cars, my belt buckle rubbed all of this part off, so I had to go and get paint. And my daughter has a picture of me actually painting it, and there's people walking around the gallery, and yeah, it's nerve-wracking. And that's the story of this painting. Yeah.
When I paint with glass or plastic, I really enjoy the fact that light can go through it, and both sides are always different views of a painting. When painting on glass or plastic, the side that's seen on the flat side without the paint on it is what's usually hidden on a canvas, because it's always the back of a canvas. It's what's layered upon and layered upon. And with glass, you get to see the original thing that first went on the canvas, the first strokes, the inspiration that started the movement to get to the final piece. Glass and plastic has that amazing aspect of when sunlight and light is shone through it, it changes texture, it changes the way the piece is seen. You can see all the different layers. There's a fascination for me with light and color. It's like being able to dance in rainbows in a way. And then when you come on the other side of something like this, the real texture of the painting starts to come out and I'm a toucher of my own paintings, and I love it when people are next to me and being able to touch textures and feel the different layers that are happening with it. It's very tactile. Art sometimes has that, I have to stay away from it, I have to be far away. But for me, being able to touch a painting adds a human connection that exemplifies those energies within me. I've been painting on glass and plastic for about even more than that now. Geez, it's been about 10 years, and I have a few different pieces. This was an inspirational piece based on finding a shower door on the side of the road, and then a couple of days later, Ian and Jay offered me to be a part of the show. And, I just like sharing that aspect of light and color, and the sensualness of the female form is a big part. If you look at the piece behind you there, it was made from alginite molds, and then plaster can be filled in those molds, and a plaster piece can be created, and then it's a blank canvas in itself. Even though it has a distinct shape and form, there's so much that can be added and exemplified and enhanced those images and feelings I have when I appreciate the female form. So with this painting, I was in the middle of healing from some surgeries that I dealt with, and my youngest daughter was over, and I was feeling very stifled and very blocked, and knew I needed to do something because I was feeling stir crazy. And so after a long, hiatus from painting and creating, my daughter and I pulled out a whole bunch of canvases and pulled out all the paints. And I knew, again, it's that female form, nature, trees, but there was something about having a lot of movement with it because I'd been very still for that whole time period. And pulled out paints and scapulas or not scapulas, I forget what they're called, scrapers, like paint scrapers, and just really enjoyed playing with color with my fingers for a bit, getting into the paint and painting on different pieces of paper with my daughter. And then when I found some colors that really resonated, healing colors of greens and whites mixed with that life color of blood, I realized that I wanted to somehow get a lot of motion and integrate trees and female form in it. And then this one was created. And after I made it, my youngest daughter felt that the painting actually had a sound for her, that she heard things from the movements and the colors, and she wanted to name it ultrasound. So in the end, that's what it came to, because sound is done through the ears. When sound came from colors and images for her, she thought it was an ultrasound, and thus this piece was created. And it really opened up a big block in that healing that I'd been going through, or not opened up a big block in healing, but opened up a big block in me during my healing time. And it was the beginning of creative flow about 1.5 years ago again. That was really nice to get into.